Hey everybody, it's Bobby Nahum here with AMAC Real Estate Company. Hope everybody is having a fantastic week and a great start to your year in 2026. I'm here to talk to you guys today about our local residential real estate market. We're going to talk about how our local real estate market looked in January. We're going to look at some important real estate metrics and we're going to compare those metrics to January of 2025 to give you guys an idea how our real estate market compared this January to a January a year ago, and talk to you about how that information can be used to project what's going to happen in our local real estate market throughout the rest of the year. So January is a very important month in our business. It kind of gives us an idea of what we can expect the rest of the year to look like. Last year in 2025, things were pretty slow. The market was slow. And I know everyone, including myself, was really looking forward to seeing how things panned out in January to give us an idea of what we can expect the rest of the year, to see if it's going to be more of the same or if things are going to pick up or slow down or what. So, but January ended up being a pretty slow month. It was not the shot out of the cannon like myself and a lot of other people were hoping for. Started out really slow, and then towards the end of the month it started to pick up a little bit. But overall, sales were down from a year ago. Listings were up from a year ago. Prices were up a little bit from a year ago. Average days on the market was up from a year ago, and the sales price to list price ratio was down from a year ago. So all similar trends that we've been seeing. It was actually kind of a continuation of what we were seeing in 2025, unfortunately. But there are some glimmers of hope, and I'll get into those. But I want to start out by talking about the number of properties listed for sale. So, listing inventory went up by 14% in January of this year, which is a big increase. Good news for home buyers. Not as much good news for home sellers, though. There's more homes, a lot more homes to choose if you're a buyer right now, which is good news. And that's going to put downward pressure on home price growth. So overall, it's good for our market. I think we've had very low levels of inventory for a long time, so we still need more homes on the market to have a healthy real estate market. Sales. So the number of properties that sold is down from a year ago by 3%. So January of 2025 was pretty slow, and we're 3% below that. So that means that we're pretty slow right now. And if you talk to other real estate agents, and I've talked to a lot of title companies, contractors, etc., that have all told me that it's slow for them too, which means it's a pretty good indicator that overall things are pretty slow. So we're actually at the slowest sales pace in January since 2014. It was the slowest January since 2014. So that's another sign giving you some context of how slow it is. Prices were up last year, though. The average prices were up by 7% compared to a year ago in January, which that's good news. 7% is a pretty good increase. Average historical price growth is about 4%, so we're a little bit above that when you look at the average. Now, when you look at the median prices were actually flat from a year ago. So when you look at the average and the median, they kind of tell a little bit of a different story. More people like to look at median than what I say average, because average can give you skewed numbers, especially if you're looking at a small data set like just a single month. But reality, I think prices were up, a little bit from last year, but not that much. But it's a good sign. Prices aren't going down anymore. We did see some price decreases in 2025. I think we're kind of past that for right now. I think throughout the rest of the year, we can kind of expect to see very modest price gains from a year ago. And then average days on the market. So it took 8 days longer to sell a house in January than it did January of 2025. So it took 83 days to sell a home in January, and a year ago it was 75 days. So I think the increase in the average days on the market, what that's really being driven by is you have a bunch of homes out there in the market right now that the homeowners are overpriced, and they are just refusing to drop the price, and they're just lingering out there for a long time, and that's bringing up the overall average days on the market. Homes that are priced correctly, they show well, they usually don't sit on the market for that long. But that is what is driving up the average. It's just you still got those sellers out there that are just refusing to accept reality. and they're not dropping the price on the homes, and it's pulling up the average days on the market. The sale price to list price ratio was at 97.2%. So what that means is basically on average, homes are selling for 97.2% of the asking price. That's down slightly from a year ago when it was 97.4. So historically, that's a pretty good number over when you look at it in the context of what we've seen the last 5 or 6 years. It's definitely lower over the during the post-COVID boom era. We saw the average sale price to list price ratio over 100%. The past couple years, it's been hovering around like 98, 99%. So it's 97.2%. It's the lowest we've seen in a while. But it's still when you look at it historically, it's still pretty high. Some things to note that I believe are important. So we talked about this already, but slowest sales pace since 2014 in January. Now, the inventory is up 14%, but the important thing to know is that we are at the highest level of housing inventory in Leon County since January of 2020. So what that I'm sorry, since January of 2019. So what that means is that we are at the highest level of inventory since before COVID. So we're officially back to pre-COVID level inventory levels. So that's important because inventory has gotten so low, especially in the years right after COVID, and it caused an unhealthy increase in home prices and just made it really hard for home buyers. So the fact that we're getting back to pre-COVID levels of inventory is really good. In 2019, inventory levels were still pretty low. I don't think we've really been at a healthy level of inventory since probably 2016 or 2017. So we're still well below that level, but we're getting back towards that. So we're headed in the right direction, which is good. Mortgage rates. I would expect mortgage rates to probably continue to hover around the 6% mark until summer at least. Right now, as we speak, the average 30-year fixed rate mortgage is hovering around 6.1%, and it's been going back and forth between 6 and 6.2% for the past couple months. There will be a new Federal Reserve chair in May, and I think that he's going to bring a whole different set of policies and just a different mindset to the Federal Reserve. I think they're going to drop the federal funds rate probably a couple times throughout the year, which will ultimately lead to the average mortgage rates going down a little bit. So once we get into like June, July, I would expect mortgage rates to come down a little bit, and by the end of the year, I think it's likely we could see mortgage rates hitting around 5.5%. So that will be good. That'll be, once we get to that level, I think that'll help home sales a little bit, but we're not there yet. And also, like I said, the market got off to a pretty slow start. Over the past couple weeks, I've been noticing in my own business and just talking to other realtors that it has been picking up a little bit, but it's been a very slow acceleration. I think by the time we get to around middle of March, we can expect the market to start going up a good bit more by then. Especially by the time we get into March, April, middle of March or April, I think that's when we'll really start to see the market heating up a lot. With that said, I don't think that we are going to see major price increases for the rest of the year. I think we can expect to see modest year-over-year home price gains throughout the rest of the year. As we get into the selling season, I think we could see the number of properties sold go up a little bit from last year. I don't think it's going to be much, though. I think the rest of the year is going to continue to be pretty slow overall. And I think we'll continue to see the trend of more people listing their homes for sale, especially as we get into the later part of the year and interest rates start going down more. You've had so many people that have mortgage rates on their homes that are 2.5%, 3%, 3.5%, and they've just been reluctant to sell because they don't want to go from having a 3% mortgage to a 6% mortgage. But I think life goes on, and I think a lot of people are finally having the realization that mortgage rates aren't going to go back down to 3%. And as time goes by, you're going to see more and more of those people start to list their property, and it's probably going to accelerate it some when mortgage rates drop down a little bit more. So I would expect to see inventory levels continue to go up. So overall, I think this year it's going to be a little bit better than last year, but kind of very similar to last year. So anyway, that's all I've got. Just want to give you guys an update. If you guys have any questions, feel free to leave a message with me. You can comment on this video if you're looking at YouTube, or you can feel free to, if you're looking at this on social media, just shoot me a message, or give me a call or send me a text. That's great too. And then always, if you guys like this content, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. And I hope you guys have a great rest of your month, and I will talk to you soon. Thanks.